Hey everyone, Sarah Pacaro. Today's video is going to be a little bit different than a lot of my other ones, but it is connected and related, and you are about to understand how and why. Today's video is about sexual dysfunction. So, sexual dysfunction. This is so normal. And the clients that I'm working with, particularly the clients who have come out of emotionally abusive relationships, toxic relationships, narcissistic relationships, and are now moving forward in life, are experiencing sexual dissatisfaction, sexual dysfunction. In men, it's showing up as erectile dysfunction, and in women, it's showing up as vaginismus. Sorry, that's a difficult word to say. Vaginismus. Try and say that 10 times fast. And so this video in particular is going to be about the signs, symptoms, and causes of vaginismus. So particularly in women who have gotten out of emotionally abusive relationships, because there are tons of emotional symptoms and signs as well as physical. So today's video is going to get into all things vaginismus. So emotionally, there is a lot, and this is the level in which we work on very quickly. Your unconscious mind is connected to the emotions that are tied to the physical pain symptoms you are experiencing when you have vaginismus. Emotionally, you can experience vaginismus when you have past traumas like sexual abuse. In many women that I work with many women that I work with, in the narcissistic relationship, they experienced sexual abuse or and sexual trauma. And I would have never said that I was raped in my marriage and in the relationship afterwards, the second narcissist, the even worse one, because I thought I was supposed to want to have sex whenever they wanted to have sex. That was not always the case. And I noticed my body would physically shut down. And a word that kept coming up in my own personal sessions was penetration. And it was like this, and it was so much more than just the literal meaning of penetration. It felt like my rights had been penetrated, my soul was being penetrated, my physical body was being penetrated, but it was the emotional body that felt penetrated. And that's linked to sexual trauma, which can cause vaginismus, particularly in women. So past traumas like sexual abuse, even if you weren't raped, there were many times in both narcissistic relationships, particularly in the second one with an alcoholic, where we would both be drinking and I didn't want to engage in sex and I felt forced to. And many times that I can recall where I actually said, no, I don't want to, no. And I was still pursued and penetrated and was told, that he was joking. It's just the tip. You can't feel it. It doesn't, it's not really happening. And obviously I knew it was happening, but was told that it wasn't, or it's okay. We're actually not doing anything while doing something. And I just remember my body going into fight, flight, freeze. I wanted to run away, but I was frozen. So my mind ran away. Like my mind disconnected from the physical experience because physically I was frozen. This person was on top of me doing things. And I was saying, no, I don't want to. No, I don't want to. And being forced into. And all of that obviously is the foundation for trauma, sexual abuse, rape, even though it was a different form of rape. So there's painful sex in the past, and sex has had an experience in many ways. And if it's painful physically and or emotionally, this can cause the muscles of your vagina for women to seize up and to freeze up, which can make penetration even more painful physically. Emotionally, you may be in a healthy, loving, kind, caring relationship and want to engage in intercourse, but because of painful sexual experiences from the past, your body may freeze up. So if you had another emotional connection, a lot of my clients make is if you had a really strict upbringing, maybe strict, you weren't allowed to date. You weren't allowed to have a boyfriend. You weren't allowed to talk to people of the opposite gender. You weren't allowed to go out and have fun and do all the things that your friends were doing. Maybe there was a very, very strict religion or household that you grew up in, a very authoritative household where you didn't talk about sex, you didn't discuss it. Maybe I've even had clients that have shared with me even using a tampon versus a pad meant that they were sinners or that they were dirty, that they were disgusting. So they had no idea what to do with their changing bodies because they had such a strict upbringing and household. That can be an emotional link to vaginismus. And then clearly fatigue, fear, reservations around even bringing up the topic for discussion can all lead to the emotional connection, knots, and ties that are there unconsciously that can cause vaginismus. Physical signs of vaginismus can be oversensitivity, like just hypersensitive. I had a client one time who loved exercising by riding her bike, but she said, and even when she would get on her bike, the seat would just cause such an arousal of sensitivity that it almost became too painful to even do something as fun as ride a bike or taking a spin class or a cycling class right at the very opening. And she knew, like, I want to exercise, I actually love riding my bike, so I don't know what's going on or where this is coming from. And it was all linked to the physical expression, was linked to the emotional connection that she had from her past and upbringing. Um, Physically, you can have inflammation of that area, the very tender and private areas down there on the inside. You can have inflammation on the outside. Obviously, with the physical pain, it takes a lot of women and puts them in the gynecologist's office where they're getting exams just to confirm I'm not going crazy. This isn't all in my head. This shouldn't be this way. I'm in a healthy, loving relationship now, and I want to be able to engage in intercourse and explore and experience this with my partner, but I can't because of this vaginismus. Um, and sometimes you're given creams or medications or anything. So this can sometimes be a side effect of some of those medications or creams. I also want to share some other things that have come up and just make sure that I've hit on everything. It's not always related to something medically. Sometimes it can be brought up by extreme stress. So if you had a really, really stressful upbringing or are in a stressful relationship now, maybe you are currently in a toxic or emotionally unhealthy relationship where communication, healthy communication is limited, and your body will limit the input that it's receiving, maybe even just via communication. And this shows up in the form of vaginismus in the bedroom. Uh, Anxiety has a lot to do with it as well. If you have anxiety, one of my past clients said even talking about it with her current partner, she could feel her body like tense up and clench up and tighten up. Uh, and if you're in a space where you're exploring your sexuality and that is in any way denied or told that it's not what you feel it is, and there's restriction in exploration for women, this can cause vaginismus as well. There are, if you're reading articles and stuff that are out there, treatments. I would be careful to attach this label to it, a treatment like lubrication. It's not necessarily a treatment for it. I mean, lubrication is lubrication. It doesn't necessarily treat vaginismus, it can help aid in it not being so painful, but it's not going to do anything to loosen your muscles and the thoughts that you're having. It just will obviously lubricate. And then some other treatments are, additional prolonged foreplay, relaxing, massage before engagement, slowly, right? Maybe one finger and then expanding from there, or Kegels and exercises that can strengthen and relax the muscles in that area, because it's not just the muscles in the vagina, but the hips can sometimes tighten and clench and seize up. I had one client say that even in certain positions, her legs would lock up and freeze and then just start trembling and shaking because of this vaginismus. But the incredible session that we had together reported the most amazing intercourse afterwards, because we were able to in just a single session connect to the emotional component to vaginismus. So if you're a woman and you're experiencing vaginismus, please, please, please do not underestimate the power of your emotional health, well-being, and state to the pleasure that you can have with the right person, and enjoy intercourse again, even if it has been painful, even if it has felt tense and felt pressure, right? Obviously, having a healthy, loving relationship that is rooted and founded in open, judgment-free communication really can exponentially just light up your sex life. But even if you're a man, I see men as well for ED or erectile dysfunction. The same thing there, because there's an emotional link to a physical experience that you can have and make it be one of incredibly intense, massive pleasure, or one that results in pain and just wanting it to be over with as quickly as possible. So there is so much more going on underneath the hood, if you will, or under the surface, that can be linked to vaginismus for women and erectile dysfunction for men. And if you are looking for a holistic approach to connect to those parts of you so that you can turn that pain into pleasure again, then I would love, love, love to connect with you and talk to you about the power of hypnosis, the power of your unconscious mind to remove those inner roadblocks so that you can be on the road to pleasure in the bedroom, out of the bedroom, in all areas of your life. So thank you, both men and women, for watching this video on sexual dysfunction, vaginismus, erectile dysfunction, all of those fun things that can sometimes feel taboo to talk about. Absolutely are not. And there are holistic, natural ways to light up your life. And if you're ready for that, I would love to connect with you and talk more about how to have a breakthrough in that area of your life. So please check out the description. There's links in there to my website so you can book a time for us to connect.